All right. Oh, hey, I see one green line there. Let me turn this mic up a little bit. Check 1, 2. Well, okay. Always never know if people can hear me like this. And I'm not a pro at this. I need to take lessons from RJ. I'm just watching RJ. He's got like 2 cameras and he throws up the questions. So like somebody types in, "Hey, everyone," or "Hey there." It's my tag, right? That's my hook. "Hey there." And then I hit send. And then there's these little dots here. No. See, can I drag this up? No. See, I don't know how he does it. Live chat. Pop out chat. Hey, what's going on? Pop out chat. What's that? Oh, I see. Okay, that's cool. Restore chat. All right. Where are you at? I got to tune my balalaika. Balalaika is a weird instrument. Culver, yes, Culver, Indiana. Culver. That's not where I am right now, though. I'm in Los Angeles. But we used to go up to Culver for weekends and go water skiing and play tennis at Culver, and lots of fun. I actually play tennis across the street. Mary, are you from Culver? Do you know Culver? Have you been to Culver? So a balalaika is tuned weird. And it's got these 1-to-1 gear ratio tuners, basically peg tuners, like a ukulele. You all hear me okay? So weird thing about a balalaika is you reach over the top with your thumb, kind of like, so these 2 strings are nylon and they're both E's. And then this one is an A. What is it? So it's really hard because they play the bottom 2 notes with their thumb. So I'm still trying to get used to that. There it is. But then my thumb gets in the way. It's so hard. I can get that note. But sometimes you want that E string in there, but sometimes you don't. So like on the D minor chord, you don't want the E string in there. It's too weird sounding. And there's a C chord. This E would be fine, but the E is below. Anyway, this is a new pickup I just got just right before the end of the year. I'm always getting instruments that I don't have, and this is a Ruspec, like my lute. So it's made by Ruspec, so it's not bad. Like, oh, I see. Okay, yeah. So I can just use regular strings on here, regular nylons, and I've got tons of these strings. Not that they would ever need to be replaced. The high string will need to be replaced. I wonder what it is. Maybe a 10. I need to get a micrometer. I'll put that on my wish list. Anyway, but this is a balalaika. It's kind of a Russian instrument. And it's weird. Again, the tuning is kind of odd. It's like E, E, A. And these 2 notes are the same, and they're nylon, and the melody string. So these are E's. So this is A, this would be B, C, D, E. Let's see. does kind of create a tremolo sound just naturally, though, with those unison strings. I did not get this at NAMM. So NAMM I was there for 2 days. It was fun. I took my wife the first day. She hadn't been in it'd been over 20 years. The kids were little when I took Beth back then. My son Alex was working a booth, so he was at the Voodoo Lab booth. So I went over and hung out with him and saw some people. It was a lot of fun. I met Rick Beato. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's a big YouTuber. He's got 1.3 million subscribers. And super nice guy, super humble. We talked about his son. I asked him if his son would be, because the NAMM show, if you are borderline autistic at all, you wouldn't want to go to the NAMM show. Or if you have sound sensitivity, it's like, I mean, if you ever gone to a Guitar Center and heard all these players playing at the same time, it's like 1,000 Guitar Centers. You really have no idea how big it is. I barely went anywhere at NAMM, and I walked 17,000 steps both days. I've done as many as 25,000 steps, and I usually park right near it. So some people will park really far away from it and have to walk a lot to get to it, but not me. I usually try to get early and park close. The first day anyway, Beth and I left at 5 a.m. from the valley, because I was like, it was Thursday, and it's like, if you leave at 6, you're going to be sitting for 2 hours in traffic to get to Anaheim, and we got there in about 50 minutes, like 10, about 50, 55 minutes, something like that. So, hey Warren, and so it was, there was no traffic. We got down there, got breakfast, and got into the NAMM thing. The lower hall E opens at 9:30, and that is where most of the ukulele makers are. A lot of the people that are going to getting a booth for the first time at NAMM usually go in hall E. I don't know if it's cheaper there per square foot or something, but it's quieter down there. A lot of the boutique guitar manufacturers are down there, like Collins, I think, is down there. The thing is, you can get the NAMM. I'm pretty sure anyone can download the NAMM app. NAMM is this. If you put in your app store, just enter that. That's how NAMM stands for National Association of Music Merchants. So the people walking around with the merchant badges, they're the ones that are really, that's what it's all about. It's for them. I usually go with Elixir or Taylor or Voodoo Lab will get me a badge, or Martin will get me a badge. Just depends on who I hit up first for a badge. Sometimes you get a badge and you don't even know it, and they have you registered, and then you get an email like, you're registered. I'm like, oh, cool. But I got mine this year from Elixir, and so it says Elixir, or it says manufacturer artist or something like that, that's probably one of the most common badges, because every manufacturer gets pretty much unlimited badges up to a point in time, should say. I've never been given the impression that they couldn't get me a badge, and they get a lot of people badges. I'm talking about Elixir here. And so the only thing is, once you hit a certain point, they stop issuing badges. And then I found out through Voodoo Lab that actually you can still get badges, but it's $50, which most people would pay $50 to go to the NAMM show. It's a 4-day event. So once you have a badge, you can go all 4 days if you want. My poor son, I think he was there 3 days. I don't know if he did Sunday or not. I forgot to ask. But he was there 3 days. And oh, it's fading in and out. Oh, dang it. Okay. Sorry, guys. I wish I knew. Let's see. Is this better? I'm trying to. I got the mic hooked up. Let's see. That's going through there. I see it. If I turn off my speakers and do this, does that make a difference? You hear me better now? Hey, Diane. How's it going? I'm talking about NAMM. I'm sorry. I need to figure out how to test this before I hit start. It's like, I guess I could do a dry run, private dry run, and make sure that's recording and listen to it. See, that's probably what I should do. Sorry. And it could be cutting in and out because of my internet connection or your internet connection too. Okay, sound is good. Thanks, Fred. Fredo1. So I'm talking about NAMM, talking about, getting there and it's so yeah, like I said, it's like a 10,000 or not 10,000, it's like 1,000, maybe 950 guitar centers at once. But my son's booth, the Voodoo Lab booth, was in Hall D, which there's, Hall A, B, C, D, and then E is below D. So D is at the one end, and he was at the end of it, and it's like next to them or across the path from them was a bass amp booth, I think, or a bass guitar booth, and of course they were testing out basses. But they're standing right in front of the bass amp, and when you stand right in front of a bass amp, you don't really hear it because bass frequencies are so big that you hear them better 20 feet out or 30 feet out. So where Alex was sitting, the bass was so loud, I went over to where they were playing. It was like, well, it's not very loud here, but where Alex was sitting about 30 feet away, it was like insanely loud. The poor kid had to sit there demoing stuff while listening to alternating good and bad bass players all, for 4 days or 3 days. So that's the NAMM show in a nutshell. That's working the NAMM show. And I did a video on what is the NAMM show? Should I go? How do I get in? You can check that one out. I think it's in my playlist. That's The Business of Making Music, which is a great playlist if you are thinking about doing music for a living, even if you aren't, even if you just want to make some extra coin as a musician. Because in some places, and that's one of my videos I talk about, is moving to a place where you can actually make a living. And there are people making livings in pretty much every medium-sized city in America, in the world for that matter. I mean, you play live and you can make enough to put food on the table. That's what it's all about. But that series is really more about, taking it to that next level, maybe moving to a LA, New York, Miami, Nashville, Chicago, somewhere like that, where you can, or Paris and London. London is a great music town, obviously. And you can make a living there trying to do it. And so that playlist is all about, the things I wish I knew at 25 that I didn't learn till my 40s and 50s. So I'm giving all that stuff away. I love doing that. I've got literally titles for 70 more videos. I think I've done almost 20 so far. And like I said, one of them is about the NAMM show. Should I go get in, whatever? And you don't even need to be a pro to go to the NAMM show. If you have a connection, you can go, and you want to be in a warm place in the winter for a week, go. So, I mean, the main thing is it's going to be like, you're going to be spending some money on a hotel and airfare, but you're in Anaheim. So you're literally, the NAMM show is literally across the street from Disneyland. In fact, I parked in Toy Story parking. So, and Beth and I got a spot like the very, very front, like we were at the spot number 4 or something like that from the exit to go across the street to the NAMM show, which is at the Anaheim Convention Center. So now people always ask you, did I see anything I can't live without? I don't even know. I don't think I played through one pedal the whole time I was there. Pedals are kind of one of those things where I've bought so many pedals that I wish I hadn't bought. Just because, that looks cool, and I buy it and I use it once, and I'm like, not cool. And I do so much of my work now in the box, meaning in the computer using computer software, that I'm not really putting many pedals on the floor. Right now, I have 3 pedals on the floor. I have a volume pedal, I have a compressor, and I have a pitch shifter. So that's one of those things that you can't really, it's hard to do in the box if you just want pitch shifting at a spur of the moment kind of thing. Like I have it set to, latch and momentary. I have it set to momentary. So momentary means if I put my foot on it, it engages. If I take my foot off the pedal, it disengages. Latch is when you hit the pedal, it turns it on. You hit the pedal again, it turns it off. That's latch. Momentary is, so you can, this pedal, you can do both. And so that's kind of cool. It's the US 600. It's the Behringer. And it's an amazing $50 pedal. It's the best $50 pedal I've ever bought. So let me give you the, I think it's Behringer, right? Yeah. And I may spell this wrong. I'm going to look. Oh, wait, I got another one here somewhere. I love these little cheap Behringer pedals. They make them. Oh, see, it's backwards. Dang it. But that's what it looks like. And I'll spell it right. Let's see, where are you? Oh, weird. That one says Behringer. This one doesn't. I know it's Behringer, but it doesn't say it right here. Okay, so Behringer. Is that with an H? Yeah. So it's BEH Ringer. I'm pretty sure it's spelled Behringer. And it's a US 600. Now they've discontinued these. So, and that's not the price. It's like $50. It's like $50. Sorry, I'm going to try something here. I want to put user in time. Add moderator. I should have a moderator. Who wants to be my moderator? Oh, hey, Crypto, how's it going? I didn't see you. How did you get yours up there? That's crazy. Okay. So anyway, this thing does so many different things. I can't, for a $50 pedal. And now there's a lot of artifacts, but I actually like the artifacts. That's kind of part of the fun of it. If you think of Radiohead, I can't think of the name of the song. But that pitch shifter has a lot of artifacts in it too. I'm not sure what he's using. That maybe the whammy pedal, but it has several modes. Let's see, flutter. I usually set it to trem bar, detune, harmonist. Let me see, take off the glasses, and pitch shifter. You can select keys, major and minor. You can go down and up different pitches. You can have blend. It can do it in time. Let's see. I can maybe hook this in. Maybe you can hear it. But anyway, so I don't generally buy a lot of pedals anymore. If I want something, if I have something that I really feel like I need or whatever, then I buy it. But I'm really good at programming. The thing I like about using programs is, and hopefully my mic won't go off if I do this. Let's see. I'm gonna add a new channel. Input 1. All right, there's that. And then I'm just going to put, hopefully you can still hear me. Let me know if you can still hear me. All right. Oh, I got my speakers off. That's why. Okay. That's wrong. Got to go input 2. That's why there was feedback. Here we go. And I don't need delay. Okay. Oh, you can still hear me? All right. So can you hear that? I'm going to go. So, I've got it set to an octave right now. So it's going up an octave. I have the blend set to 100%. So it's all harmonizer. It's not 2 notes. But also I've used it if I have to play something really high. And with gain on it, you don't notice the artifacts so much. But I've been using it for pop writing. So that's why if I have that thing hooked up, it's usually because I'm writing some pop hooks. And so it's one of my secret tricks that I just put out there on the internet. And so this is my balalaika. And balalaika, I was showing you earlier, if you were tuning in, it's one of those, you got to play it like Jimi Hendrix. You got to play with your thumb over the over the neck. That's generally how they play it. See that? And then just got it. But there's a movie. A composer friend of mine's starting a new movie, and the main character is going to be all over the world. So, so I've got. He said, "Hey, do you have a balalaika?" I said, "Not yet." And I went out and ordered one like that day. So, and I've been working on my flamenco chops too. It's just funny because I love that. That's my thing. Is like I love playing all these different instruments. Also, I'm going to post a video. Sorry, it's been a while since I posted a video with NAMM. And then last week I was working on a game. I am not from Culver, but I used to spend summers there, Iron Man. I used to go there, not for summer. I never went to Culver Academy. My stepdad did, and his best friend, they went up there. In fact, I think they met at the academy. Yeah, so that's that. So that's where I got the shirt. Actually, driving up to Michigan, I stopped off at Culver for old time's sake, and you get into Pacifica 112. Anybody have any knowledge about the Pacifica 112? Yeah, Culver's a beautiful area. So the NAMM show, talking about the NAMM show here. I was walking around and I ran into Rick Beato. I mean, are you freaking kidding me? And so I started talking to him about his son. I was saying, would your son hate the NAMM show? Because his son has amazing perfect pitch. If you haven't, Rick Beato, you need to subscribe to Rick Beato if you're not already. I'm assuming you are. He's got 1 million+ subscribers. It looks like Beato, but it's Beato. He's really smart. He does a great series on what makes this album or what's makes this song great. And he takes some chances on YouTube. I try to be about as unoffensive and uncontroversial as possible. But it's funny. I do find controversy unintentionally on my YouTube channel. But rarely do I find that. And Rick's always, talking about what makes a song great or whatever. And he's got a new one. I haven't watched it yet though, about string gauge. And I'm all about different string gauges. I really like having different guitars strung up different ways. Because when I pick them up, then I'll play them different. So I wouldn't put heavy strings on my telly, because when I pick up a telly, I'm probably going to be doing a lot of bends and weird stuff like that. So anyway, but I ran into Rick Beato. It was so cool. And he's like a theory monster. He knows theory so good. Now, one of the things I feel like I'm pretty good at is teaching theory in a simple way. And that comes from teaching private lessons for 35 years. You get pretty good at explaining something fairly complicated, making it simple. That's what I really, really try to do. I don't always succeed, but that's what I try to do. But I taught him something that he didn't know, which kind of blew me away. I mean, I was kind of like, I was a fangirl. So I was kind of fangirling on him and I just happened to be working on this game. And I was kind of in the middle of it, kind of just started it, but I've been playing on this game. It's a lot of music. I mean, oh my gosh, hold on a second. You stay right there. This is just a small percentage of it. But you can see it's just a ton of music. Some of these are just one page I printed up. This is just like one bit of it or whatever. But it was all oud and lute. And man, I'll tell you though, at the end of the week, I was about twice as good of an oud player as I was at the beginning of the week. And I've been doing a lot of oud lately. So consequently, I'm on the hunt for good quality oud. And you're wondering how to spell oud. Here's how you spell oud. And it's a Middle Eastern instrument, Egyptian, Turkish, mainly Turkey. I think is probably the one I'm playing. I got a $300 oud from a place called Lark in the Morning, which is a great little website. I should do a video on them. Let's see. Oh, good. You're having a discussion about the Pacifica. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about Pacifica. Speaking of Yamaha. Remember I was telling you about the NAMM show having all these different halls, hall A, B, C, D, and E downstairs. And then they have new ACC, which is two giant halls on top of each other, which is all of the audio things, like Avid, Pro Tools was there and Dolby and all that stuff. But then at the I think it's a Sheraton. I think it's a Sheraton or the Marriott next door, all still part of the complex, is where Yamaha is. And I never even got over there. And they have, they take the whole ballroom and turn it into their place. So all the Yamaha stuff's over there. So I never even saw anything Yamaha had to offer. I used to go over to Yamaha because I had a friend that endorsed Yamaha drums, and now he's with Sonar. So I saw him in the main room, in the main hall. I think he was in Hall C. Hall C was almost all the drum companies and cymbal companies and the boutique drum companies and all that stuff and percussion stuff. Hall D was a lot of the guitars were there. Hall B was like classical and horns. Hall A, I don't remember now. It's kind of confused, but you can download the app and check it out. And this is what, if you want to get a badge for the NAMM show, that's one thing you can do is download the app. It's going to take a minute, but start scrolling through it and see if there's a manufacturer in your area and maybe in your city. And if there is, you might be able to friend them, make a love connection. And then the next NAMM show, and there's a NAMM show I think it's in Nashville in the summer. Summer NAMM is Nashville. You can see the sun's coming out. And sometimes it's in Austin. I can't remember which is which. So yeah, I've had one Pacifica, or my son did, and we got it cheap. I don't remember what it cost, but it wasn't very much, and it was a nice little instrument. It was totally fine. It was a good versatile instrument. See, I haven't had my coffee yet, so I'm still getting it. Let's see, what else did I see at the NAMM show? Well, it was more who I saw. I saw my friends. I didn't see RJ. We missed each other. Who did I see celebrity-wise? Did I see any celebrities? I mean, I think of Rick Beato as a celebrity. He was like, I watch him. I see his face more than just about anybody else's, including my wife's, because I watch all his videos. Let's see. I'm going to do I think a 3-part series on open tunings. On slide, and open tunings is going to play a part of it. So I'm going to talk about that later, but it's going to be beginner stuff. I play slide all the time for work, for sessions, things like that. I play lap steel and dobro. I just was playing dobro yesterday on a couple tracks. But I'm not I'm not really good blues slide player or whatever. I can solo with it and things like that, but I'm not like crazy. So I'm going to give you the basics and how to get started on slide, because I've had a lot of requests for that. Oh man, I'm sorry, Jack. Oh, okay. Well, now I'm going to be self-conscious about my lips. I remember there was a girl in junior high that said I had butt lips or big lips, and it hurt my feelings so bad. And then I found out later that she was probably thought I was cute and she was making fun of me. And that's what some girls do. Dang it. I didn't know. So I do have a lot of hearing loss in my left ear. I think it was from one event where I was wearing ears and the sound man let some horrible feedback go through one ear and one side. It was awful. And it hurt, literally hurt. But because of all my years of playing and drums and all that stuff, being around drummers and all that, I've got hearing loss in both ears, but my left ear is particularly bad. In fact, my left eye is completely blind. So my left side of my head is completely useless. I just carry it around because it's attached to the right side of my head. So let's see. So I saw, who did I see at NAMM? Well, Judith Hill, who is the daughter of the bass player and keyboard player at my church. Judith Hill, look her up. She sang with Michael Jackson, and Prince produced her last record, and then he died. But she's a great singer. In fact, she's got a pretty cool credit. She wrote. She got asked by Disney to write some futuristic funk music for the cantina at the new Star Wars land at Disneyland. So when you go to the cantina at Star Wars, and you're likely to hear her doing a song. So that's pretty cool. Oh yeah, Jack. Yeah, the keeping rhythm in group. Yeah, that's tough. Now, have you ever tried ears? Like I have these ear molds because they kind of act like hearing aids. I mean, it makes I can adjust everything I hear in these. Now, if you're playing in a group and they don't have any way of monitoring through ears, then that's not going to help you any. But I found that using ears really helps when to isolate things, and when things get a little chaotic, it really helps. So let's see what else at NAMM. I ran into a friend of mine named Sean Tubbs. If you don't know him, he's a great guitar player. He has a channel and does gear reviews. Check him out. And we've been friends for a long time. And he lives in Nashville now with RJ lives there. So like I said, I saw a lot of people. I went to the Taylor booth and played some Taylors, some great Taylor guitars. I was going to go to the Martin booth, but there were so many people in. They had kind of wall set up, and you could go inside, and there were so many people in there, and they were in hall. They were in hall B, maybe. They may have been hall D, but it's just so noisy in there. It's like the worst place. NAMM show is the worst place to really hear an acoustic guitar. Like a Guitar Center, they separate the acoustic room generally from everything else, and they make it all quiet in there. And that's so you can hear the nuance of the guitar. But at NAMM, there's no nuance. So oud music is amazing. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm not aware of that. Oh, am I going to get controversial? The thing that I taught, sorry, you're like, what did you teach Rick Beato? The thing I taught Rick Beato is he did not know that there was all these. So there's notation in Middle Eastern music for 54 notes per octave. Western music has 12 notes per octave. And they actually in Middle Eastern music have notation for 54 notes per octave. And so they have these things. It's like a sharp sign, like a sharp sign with one line through it, a sharp sign with 3 lines through it. Ours is typically just the pound sign or the hashtag now, as the kids call it. But it's like there's those. Then there's a flat sign that has a line through it. So flat, I don't know, make a B with a line through it. So they have all these weird, like, oh, it's just a little flatter than that, or it's a little sharper than that. It's pretty crazy. The sun is acting up funny in here. The tree is going boom, boom, boom. I'm going to turn on the light. Let's see what that does. It's windy out there, so there's a palm tree that's blowing. I don't know if that's any better, but it's not bad. Let's see. My first concert ever was Nickelback up in Portland, Maine, and both my hearing aids were busted at the time. Dang. So, Jack, have you been basically deaf most of your life? Yeah. So back to the oud thing. Yeah, I was playing. So oud all week on this stuff. So now I'm on the hunt for a good oud, and boy, it's really, really hard to find because there's no oud stores. Even in the U.S., there's no stores that sell ouds. And I would even be willing to fly to New York City. Oh, dang! Sorry, Jack. I'd be willing to fly to New York City to buy an oud and bring it home. Because pretty much my oud is just kind of almost more of a wall hanger. Boy, that tree is just blowing back and forth. If I get rid of the, yeah, see now it's really dark in here. Of course, I could turn on this light. This is here. Turn to a regular movie studio here. All right, let's try this. There we go. That's a little bit more consistent. Okay. I was tired of that. The palm tree was blowing back and forth in front of the sun. And it was just like, it was getting dark light. It's like, wow, I'm getting a headache. Okay. Let's see. It's snowing here. So I'm sorry. I know. Hey, I'm from it. I moved out here and my blood is so thin now. I could never live in the Midwest again or in the North. I'm afraid to say. Well, Jack, I'm happy for you. That's awesome. I'm glad that you've got it figured out. You know. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, you don't feel bad for my blown poultry. Let's see. Yeah. So the thing I was playing Oud on is a game called The Pathless. So I'm not sure when it's coming out. I also was playing Loot. I got a Loot was that about a year ago that I got my Loot? And I think it was a year ago. It kind of was a Christmas present to myself. And just like my Balalaika was a Christmas present this year. In fact, same manufacturer. Both was Rusbeck. I hadn't played much of the Loot, and both the Loot and the Oud have peg tuners, which means they're friction. You know, they're just sticking through a hole, and if they get loose, you got to push them in the hole tighter so that they stay in tune. And it's a 1-to-1 gear ratio, so it's a real pain. Real tempted to buy a cheap Oud that has guitar tuners on it. You can find them for like $400 or $500, and that would kind of solve that problem. The reason they don't put guitar tuners on them, I think, is because there's 11 strings, and so it would just weigh a ton. It's like a 12-string, but the body's a lot lighter. And then also the Lute has 15 strings on it. It's an 8-course Lute. And the weird thing, just a little geeky thing, the Oud is all double strings, except the bottom string is alone. In my case, I tune it to D. So the tuning is D, D, G, A. So you have 1, 4, 5 on the bottom. And those are basically like bass notes that you hit, boom, and then you do something on top, and then you hit another note, and and then from there it's D, G, C. So it's fourths from there. So D, G, A, D, G, C is how I have the tune. The Lute is tuned basically, well, it's weird because, again, it's an 8-course. So it's basically like an 8-string. But the Lute's nylon, like a classical guitar. It's up a minor third. So it's like if you capoed the 3rd fret on a classical guitar, that's what the Lute would be tuned to. Some people tune the 3rd string down to A, but if you capo at the 3rd fret, it would be B flat. And I leave it at that just so my brain doesn't have to work too hard. But the weird thing is the top string is a single string and everything else is paired up. So the bottom strings are octaves. So it's kind of like a nylon 12-string. It's very strange. And so it's basically G. It's like I said, it's like here, I got my 12-string out. I just did a video on this capo, and I'll probably post it this weekend. So you'll see that. It's a different capo. I'm going to do a whole video on all these weird capos just for fun. But I decided to do one just on that one. And this was one that was given to me at the NAMM show. They gave me a couple capos at G7 because one of the main guys over there is a subscriber, and they're from they're from England, and they were, he watches me from England, so that's cool. Tommy. So if the guitar's capoed at 3rd fret, it's G, C, F, B flat, D, and G. But that's only 6 strings. So why 8 course? Well, because it only goes down to G, you sometimes want notes. I mean, it only goes down to G, which is the 3rd fret of the 6th string. You want lower notes than that. So the next string is tuned down to F, and the next string is tuned down to D. So, and you've seen those guitars. In fact, I did see a harp guitar that I may pick up. That'll be fun. You guys will like this. It's basically a 6-string guitar, and then it has like 6 lower strings on it to go off in another direction, and it has its own neck, and that neck is big and hollow, so it resonates, and you just tune those strings individually. There are no frets on that other neck. It's just a big piece of hollow wood, and those are more bass notes. So it's like you can play stuff on guitar, but then you can go down all the way down. Like he had it, so E, and then it went down D, C, maybe B or B flat, A, G, and F. So he almost got down an octave below the E string. So it was cool. And then, so he'd be playing up here, and then he would hit a low note, and then he would play against that and hit another low note. And that was very, very cool. I thought about getting one of those. So that may be something I pick up and something I saw from the NAMM show. Let's see. Open tunings. Yes. Iron, I talked about that. So I'm going to do I hate to drop 3 videos at once, because anytime I drop 3 videos at the same time, or more than 1 video at the same time, I lose subscribers because your feed gets clogged with my videos. But my plan is to do 3 videos on basically beginner slide. And so one is just kind of an intro to it, probably something like 8 or 9 tips for slide beginners. And then I'm going to do plain slide in standard tuning. Okay. And then I'm going to do plain slide in I'll pick an open tuning. I may do G. I really like open G, but I think for it's tough because open E is also a good one. So open D, but open E is good. G, I haven't decided yet. When I do the video, I'll decide if I'm going to go to G or E tuning. On my 12 string, I'll do open D. That sounds amazing. Open D tuning with slide on a 12 string sounds so good. I write a lot of music for a show called what's it called? Street Outlaws on Discovery Channel, and so I've used that sound a lot. I think they use a lot of my 12 string kind of stings. I do these kind of stuff. Those are called stings. I've done a bunch of those, and they use those bumping into commercial or into a new scene or something like that. I see them on the cue sheet. So yes, I will be doing some open E blues licks video. Yeah, I mean, there's so many great videos out there. Because I'm getting ready to do maybe like a mini series, like a three video series on basic slide. I've been watching a lot of slide videos for 2 reasons. One, just to learn stuff, and 2, to see if I can find a niche that's not being met already on YouTube. And so hopefully I can kind of touch on some things. I'll try to make it succinct. You know me. My last live stream, was it 3 hours? I'm not going to go 3 hours today. So unless it's so cold, you guys don't want to go outside and you just want to hang out here with me, I should sit outside and do this. Hey, I started to do a live stream from NAMM on my phone, but the problem with doing that, and I forgot to bring my charger, the problem is that it uses the battery so much because you're turning the phone into a TV station. It's like that. One of my favorite movies, Back to the Future, when Marty shows up with his camera and Doc in the 50s is like, oh my gosh, it's a TV studio in a box. And that's what this is. You know, it can broadcast too. That thing couldn't even broadcast. This thing broadcasts. So I was literally on, oh gosh, I think for 2 minutes, and I saw no one jump on, and I'm like, okay. And last time I did it on Periscope, like years ago, I did a live stream on Periscope at the NAMM show. And all people were doing was like, hey, can you go to the PV booth for me? Or can you go to Fender? And I'm like, do you understand how long it would take me just to walk to PV and then to Fender? And then I kept getting these requests to go. I'm like, hey, I can't do that. And then back then, there were still a lot of like, that was about 5 years ago. It's changed a little. It's totally not, it's very family oriented now. Let's put it that way. Okay. But back even 5 years ago, there would be some booths you'd walk by and you'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. Look, son, look at the basses over here. So let's see. Can you do a series on 80s riffs? Ooh, that no one has done. Oh, 80s riffs. Okay, I'll make a note of that. 80s riffs, because I'm definitely a child of the 80s. I mean, my first bands were really pretty much 80s bands. So because I'm actually want to do a video of, maybe you guys can help me. I'm trying to find, because again, this feeds into 2 things though. One is I want to do a series or just maybe one video on 1 bar guitar riffs. So good, you know, and I can teach them, because again, I don't want to get into the copyright area. I don't want to have, you know, so like I don't teach songs, because the only songs I teach are ones that I write. So the Bieber stuff that I have up there are songs that I co-wrote with Justin or with somebody on his team. And so those I feel like I can put up there, but I don't even know if I monetize those. Maybe I do. I can't remember. But they basically, you know, it's something I've written, so I feel like I have a right to the copyright. I own the copyright, so I can do that. Or I'm one of the copyright owners. but I feel like a little lick isn't bad. So here's one of my favorite one bar riff. I mean, that's such an unbelievably brilliant one bar riff. So I'd like to have come up with five. I think I've got 2 or 3 so far. I keep thinking, oh, that one's a good one. And then I realize, oh, it's 2 bars. I want 1 bar. Okay. Another one was, and literally that's the whole song. It's the original loop. So Ticket to Ride is also, a lot of the song is that hook. But if you can think of some, I would, yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of great 80s riffs. So if I just do maybe a little bit of the song, I won't get in trouble. And either riffs as in hooks from songs or guitar licks, like my favorite 80s. Now, see, and 80s, when I think 80s, I think British Invasion. Okay, the second British Invasion. So I'm thinking like Smiths and Duran Duran and bands like that, or even In Excess, which they were from Australia. So that's kind of, or Men at Work. Yep. I'll look at that one. I want famous songs for that 1 bar hook thing. Yeah, one of my favorite hook riffs, 80s riffs was. I think that's how it's played. That's The Fix. One thing leads to another, which is a great track. That was a fun track from the 80s. So yeah, I could maybe come up with some 80s hooks. The thing is that I'm not familiar with, I never got into, even though I lived in LA. I moved to LA in January of 1983. I never got into the hair bands. That was just not a thing. I was a jazzer, so I was into Steely Dan and I was into bebop and things like that. I wasn't even listening to pop music in 1983, or actually, I started listening to pop music again in like late '82, mainly because I took a lesson from Carl Verheyen in '82 when I flew out here to see if I wanted to live out here. And I met Carl Verheyen he was playing at a club, at a nightclub with an artist. I didn't know who he was, but then I just went to this place because a lot of famous people played there. So I wanted to see it. And yeah. And so thanks, Tom. So I ended up seeing this artist there, and this guitar player was amazing. It was Carl Verheyen. So I talked to him afterwards and I got his number and we set up a guitar lesson, and I went to his house, took a guitar lesson, and I was like a total jazz geek and jazz head. I was totally into Wes Montgomery and Charlie Parker, Miles Davis, John Coltrane. I mean, I was a snob, to be honest. And then I was into smooth jazz too, like George Benson and Joe Sample and the Crusaders, and Steely Dan was totally on my playlist, so to speak. And so I go to Carl's house, or his apartment. He was living in an apartment at the time, and in Van Nuys, and he had the Police Synchronicity record. And I'm like, Police Synchronicity? What are you listening to that for? That's pop music. And he goes, are you kidding? You know how many people pay me to sound like Andy Summers? And I went, oh yeah, that makes sense. And so then I started listening to the Police, and when I got home, I bought Synchronicity, and I went, oh, this is really good. And then I bought, what was it? What was the one before that? Was that Zenyatta? Ghost in the Machine. I went backwards, basically. I bought their 5th record, then I bought their 4th record, I bought their 3rd record, I bought their 2nd, I bought their 1st record, Regatta de Blanc, and I basically fell in love with every record, and every record of theirs was totally different than the previous one. It was really, really good. Yeah, Charlie. Yeah. Charlie Parker is great. I couldn't afford as a kid, couldn't afford to buy the Omni book, which is the transcription of all the Charlie Parker, a bunch of Charlie Parker solos. So I created my own. I had a music book and a blank music staff paper book, and I created the Tomney book. Huh? You like that, Tom? The Tomney book. So I have it. I still have it. I'm not going to leave and go get it because it's over there, and I don't want to. Like, what's weird? Why did I tune into a blank screen? So. Yeah, in my studio, this is pretty functional stuff. I mean, I got my SG up there. I bought that just a couple of years ago. I went to a friend's daughter's wedding, and it was in Arizona. What's the name of that town? It was northern Arizona. I can't remember. Not Sedona, but nice town. And they had like 3 vintage guitar stores in this little town. I'm like, this is amazing. And so I found that, and I was like, I think I paid $800 for it. It's a 71. But it's a total mutt. I mean, it's been totally changed. The pickups aren't original, but they are antiquities. It's funny because I was watching RJ this morning, and he was talking about changing out pickups on guitars. He got an LSL, and he changed out the pickups. I've never changed out the pickups on any guitar I've ever owned. Not once. I don't know why. I'm like, I pick up a guitar and I go, well, this sounds like a guitar, so I'm good. I know it wasn't Flagstaff. Okay, now Diane, I got to look at. You've been with me from the minute one. Hold on a second. Just because you've been with me since minute one, I'm going to look it up. It wasn't Flagstaff. It wasn't that far north. It was. Now it's got. Yeah, there's Flagstaff. You're probably going. Oh, it's Prescott. It was Prescott, which is kind of halfway between Flagstaff and Phoenix, I think. A little bit west. And it was a beautiful little cowboy town in the mountains. There were like rocks everywhere and everything. It was really cool. A lot of turquoise and silver in the jewelry stores. That's how you know you're in a cowboy town. So the SG and the pickup thing. I had a friend that when I was first kind of getting started, and he played at the same church as me, and he's a very good guitar player. In fact, he's doing it pro now. In fact, he plays guitar for Christopher Cross. And it was really funny, though, because he would show up and he would have the best gear because he was a computer guy. He could do computer repairs. So he made a ton of money. And this is back in the late 80s, early 90s. And he would always show up with great guitars. And, he was into Tom Anderson guitars. I couldn't afford a Tom Anderson. If you added up the value of all my guitars I had at the time, it wouldn't equal one Tom Anderson guitar. And he would show up with one, and he goes, yeah, I really like this guitar, but I changed out the pickups. And I go, oh, really? And so I pick up the guitar, and he goes, I start playing it, and I play it through his rig, and I'm like, this thing sounds great. And he goes, yeah, man, I was just thinking about changing the pickups again, but it sounds great when you play. And I'm like, oh, really? Like a few weeks later, he shows up, and he's changed the pickups again. And I'm like, oh, this sounds great too. He goes, yeah, man, it sounds great when you play. I'm like, well, maybe it's not the pickups. I don't know. I'm not trying to, it's just, there's something to be said. I don't know if it's bone tone. They talk about bone tone, like different players have bone tone. I also think there's a confidence factor. If you have confidence on an instrument, I also think 100%, if somebody else is playing your guitar, it always sounds better than when you play it. That's just the thing. So 70 or 71 SG Mutt. That is a Del Arte gypsy jazz thing. I will be using that on my record for the gypsy stuff. I need to put new strings on it because they're pretty rusty. Unfortunately, Elixir doesn't make strings for this guitar. The loop, that's a loop end. It requires loop end. So the strings go bad fast. That's my Telecaster baritone. I use that a lot, especially on Apex Legends. If you are a gamer, I do all the guitars on Apex Legends, which is like, it used to be like the kids used to think it was cool that I worked with Justin Bieber. Now they think it's cool I do Apex Legends. So, yeah, that's true. In fact, if you're going to buy an acoustic guitar, so see now, how do I get this to come over here? Let me see. I'm going to try something. McCammond Watts. If I lose this, put user in timeline. What does that mean? No. Oh, see, I deleted it. Oh, put user in timeout. Dang it. Okay, that's. Oh, shoot. Dang it. Okay, McMahon. I'm trying to figure out. Sorry. I don't know. So that means maybe timeout. I think you can still see me. uh, what's your name? McCammond. Okay. Sorry. I put you in a timeout unintentionally. I was trying to move this over. I know. Dang it. I don't know how he did this. How did RJ put it right here in the screen, like the question over there in the screen. I don't know how to do that. So let's see. Okay. Oh, you haven't tried Apex yet? Yeah, I think it's free. You can download it. It's not for Macs. I mean, it's not on Macs. It's PC, and then I think it's Xbox, and what's the other one? PlayStation, maybe. I'm not sure what platform, but I use the baritone a lot on that. I do a lot of baritone. That's the bass 6 over here. So that's an octave. That's a Squire bass 6. I did a review on that. It's actually one of my most viewed reviews. And it's a Jaguar body, which actually my son's a big Jazzmaster guy. He loves Jazzmasters. I'll tell you, I really like the configuration and the options on the Jaguar. I may have to pick up a Jaguar. I don't know if I'd get a vintage one. A new one would probably be fine for me, but I should probably get one of those at some point. In fact, I did talk to people at Fender. I may do something with them. I met with Fender at the NAMM show. Because I have so many subscribers, it does kind of open some doors. But I also have friends over there, and a good friend of mine is their kind of promo guy. So he, it's almost more about connections than anything. And yeah, Gary, yeah, right. I haven't put it. My kids, yeah, we homeschooled, so there were some timeouts, but not that bad. Like Jack of the 3 had the most timeouts. But I really do like the sound. The sound of a Jaguar versus a Jazzmaster, almost two totally different sounds. Jazzmaster has a warmer sound. Jagmaster has a really kind of brittle sound, which I actually kind of like, especially as my hearing starts to go. I like the brighter guitars. That's the Epiphone that my daughter. It's just a matte black Epiphone that I probably paid $79 for, $80 for, something like that. And my daughter decorated it, and it's amazing. She's going to do T-shirts for me, so we're going to have T-shirts at some point that we can get. And then it's just going to be my head saying "Hey there," and holding a guitar. So my head holding a guitar and say "Hey there." She's got to work on it. I already paid her, so she better work on it. There's my Martin that I use all the time. Okay, that's my main Martin. I probably shouldn't leave it out like that, but I've got a humidifier, so it's not too bad in here. There's my 6-string or 5-string bass that Austin Wintry bought for me because he kept writing bass parts that were below E. Austin's the composer that I work for. Oh, he was the guy I worked for this past week doing all that oud and lute stuff. So, hi, Austin. Welcome home. He was in London at Abbey Road recording. I hate him so much. He was at Abbey Road Studio 2 recording all week. And I'm like, why didn't you bring me to record? And I wouldn't have wanted to go to do oud because me recording oud is like seriously 1 bar at a time and then punch in and 1 bar at a time. Because oud is fretless, it's hard to read music and play oud at the same time. It's kind of like hard to read play slide and read at the same time because you really got to look at your hands. I mean, you can use your ears too, but if there's other stuff going on, it's really hard. But the oud thing was a lot of work, and I wouldn't have wanted to fly to London to do it. But he was literally in Studio 2 where the Beatles recorded all but one of their songs. And I've been in that studio, and for me, it was hallowed ground. I mean, I literally started crying in there. I mean, it was like an amazing moment. And there are great records recorded there too. I mean, I think Bowie and Radiohead recorded there, and Michael Jackson. I mean, everybody, at some point is recorded at Abbey Road. But he was in there recording. I was like, dang it. So there'll be another time. In fact, the composer I work for on Apex Legend is there all the time. He was just there for 3 weeks for the Star Wars game that he scored. And he was in Studio 1 for that. And that's the big scoring room where they did the Lord of the Rings and all the Star Wars and all the James Bond. I mean, it's such a great place, and it's not open to the public. I just got lucky. I had a friend that knew the manager, and she gave me and my boys a tour when we were there in 2014. And she spent an hour and a half. The manager spent an hour and a half with us, taking us to all the studios. It was, I mean, I was crying. I was so happy to be there. It was so awesome. And then the Telecaster, that's a great 54 Tele reissue. It's a Japanese version. The Japanese reissues are pretty spot on. And then that's a 60s Harmony Bobcat, which has got a great tone. A composer I work for named Steve Jablonski, who will sometimes write parts for electric guitar to play the melody. He really likes that guitar, so I keep that one out. It's got a really fun tone. It's got the foil pickups. What kind of pickups are those? So, and I'm not looking here. So let's see. I got to catch up on my. Yes, that's my, yeah, Austin. Yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, I've done a lot of different weird, I do a lot of weird sounds that don't even sound like guitar. So you're hearing my guitars, but a lot of times it's just me making noises with weird picks and ebows and slides and all sorts of stuff. So I'm always creating new things. I even did, I showed you guys the cluster guitar at some point. I think there's a video up on my cluster guitar. It's just 6 E strings. And that with a slide, when you tilt it and get like, 6 semitones in one half step, is amazing sound with, fade in with reverb and all that. It's like crazy. Let's see. How are you? Let's see. I need a cig. Bring in my phone. Got to help my bro with his drum set. Okay, Joe. I bet Tom hasn't put anyone. No, I have. Okay, I'm okay. I know where you are. My 13 son said cool about Apex Light. See, that's exactly right. That's where I get my cools from. 13-year-old kids is the whole, the Apex, not the Bieber stuff. The Bieber stuff, like, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Apex is huge. When it came out, it's funny because Respawn is just down the street from here, and I was over there just the other day. In fact, the composer for Apex, he and I went to NAMM for the second day. He drove, and we took his brand new Porsche. He had a Porsche, and we took that all. He only had 100 miles on it, so we put 200 miles on it going to NAMM. No, that's not. It's probably 50 miles each way, so 100 miles, another 100 miles on it going to NAMM. And we got to go. We used the apps, so we got to go pretty fast a couple times, so that was fun. It wasn't 20 miles an hour the whole way. Joe, you had tooth pain. Oh no. But you used ice, and I'm okay. Okay. Let's see. What's a good acoustic guitar that's reasonably priced? Okay, James, that's a tough question. It depends on what reasonably priced is. Let's see. Do you put a number? Yeah, the Yamaha is, I would say by far the Yamaha is the most common cheap guitar out there that I see people getting. They actually, for 40 years now, they've been doing pretty decent knockoffs of Martins. I've always kind of said, felt like Yamahas were poor man's Martins. So they're not bad. I don't have any cheap acoustics, really. I mean, the cheapest acoustic that I have is my 60s Gibson folk singer that I got for doing a session for a guy. I played on his record for 2 days, and he had a pretty good guitar, pretty large guitar collection. I wouldn't say good guitar collection. He had a large guitar collection. And he said, you can pick any guitar, a Manic guitar, and I'll give it to you for working 2 days for me. I said, okay. So I did the record. It was the friend of mine was producing, so he didn't have any money for me, but he could give me a guitar that any of them was on. He didn't take any off the shelf for that. And so got to the end of the 2 days, and he said, "So what guitar do you want?" And I said, "Gibson folk singer." And he goes, "Except that one." And I went, "Dang it! I thought you said I could take any guitar." So he had this Godin Les Paul-like guitar with a whammy bar. It had 2 humbuckers on it. It had a acoustic piezo pickup in it, and a separate output for that, and a MIDI pickup in it. Okay, so it was like this triple threat. I thought, well, I might be able to use that because I do have I have a guitar synthesizer, so I could hook it to that if I want to do that, or the acoustic thing could be good for church. Maybe if I want to play acoustic on a song, I can flip to that pickup or whatever. I used it once and I went, oh, I hate this guitar. No, it was just it wasn't on Godin. It was just, it just didn't fit me at all. So I took the guitar, I just put it in my closet, and the case for some reason was giant. I remember the case being really wide, but I put it in the guitar case in my closet and it just sat there for like a year and a half. I get a call from the guy that I got it from, and that guitar had kind of gone up in value though. I mean, used ones were going for like $1,500, and he said, "Hey, are you still interested in that folk singer?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." He goes, "You want to trade the Godin for the folk singer?" I said, "Sure." So I'll always take a vintage guitar. So I got the folk singer, and that's the one I use in my most famous video, and it's the one with the pick guard that's missing on the folk singer has 2 pick guards on it. Okay, this is a byproduct of the brilliant thinkers at Gibson back in the 60s, going, these kids today, they're playing their guitars with click drums. They're strumming their guitars with these pieces of plastic. They're going to scratch up the wood. So let's cover up the wood with plastic. And so that's what they did. They covered up the wood with plastic. You like my old man voice? Actually, this is my old man voice. They covered up the guitar with plastic, like a flamenco guitar, And my flamenco guitar you can't even tell it's got plastic on it, but it's covered with plastic, but it doesn't look like it. But before I got it, when it was given to me, the bottom pick guard had long been missing. So I don't even notice it. I don't even think about it. I just picked the guitar up because it sounds cool. It's a cool sounding. It's kind of got that toy student guitar sound, but it's great for like the Target commercial vibe. And so I put that in that video. Didn't know the video was going to have 1,000,007 views now. It's like, geez. And so many people go, why are you playing your guitar upside down? Or what's wrong with that guitar? Or where's the pickguard? Why is the pickguard on the right? I get all these questions. I'm like, I didn't know. I had no idea that was going to be the video that was going to blow up my channel. Let's see. At a time, it's probably been 40 years since I've been in a timeout. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, Mick Hammond. I was trying to get your comment right here. Let's see there. I can't do it. Oh, I have to back up. Okay. Right here. Because RJ did that. Now I got to text RJ and say, how did you get the comments to show up? See, I don't know. Participate. Yeah. Pop out chat. Toggle time. I'm afraid to hit any of these buttons now. I need to do a test. Okay, Joe, good to see you. Guitars. Oh, you moving is let's see. Do I play any metal? No. I mean, yeah, I can drop D stuff, but I'm not like a shredder guy. I've never been that guy. But for TV and film, yeah, I can totally do it. But for a record, no, you wouldn't want to hire me to do a metal record. Let's see. I have not played with Britney Spears. Let's see. Pick up a Yamaha. Okay. With your bright smile, I hope. Let's see. I wanted something. If I'm going to learn, I just want to toss the closet discouraged. Yes. Yeah. It's so funny. I had so many students. When I was teaching, I was living in Pasadena, and Pasadena is the city here, and then all the cities around it are very, very wealthy cities. San Marino, Arcadia, La Cañada, South Pasadena, very expensive cities. And so my students were all like, parents had a lot of money, and they would end up show up with nicer guitars than I had. But they stopped playing in 6 months, and that guitar would end up in a closet. Which is pretty funny. I remember seeing a review of a Dumble amp where somebody wrote a review from one of those kids' perspective and saying, yeah, my parents bought me this Dumble amp, but it sounds okay. I really prefer my, something, Fender Champ amp. And, when I play my 59 Les Paul through the Champ amp, it sounds much better than the Dumble. But the the 59, the way he's, the 57 Strat sounds pretty good to the Dumble, but I actually like it better. If I, it was like this really long comment on the review of the Dumble amp, and it was hilarious. It was like, oh my gosh, it was so funny. Somebody went to a lot of trouble. Yeah, the Japanese make, like Fender, correct me if I'm wrong, but Fender, they make, they have Korean, Mexico, like the price range. I think the cheapest ones are made in Indonesia, maybe, then Korea, then Mexico, then Japan, then the US. And then the US, they even have two areas. Like they have the Arizona plant, and then they have the Fullerton plant. So it's like every one of them is a bump up in price, because probably the number one cost for a guitar is the labor. But the Japanese are very meticulous. And seems like there was a period of time where maybe Fender Japan kind of had their own, like Fender would release a 52 Telly and then like a 58 Telly or something like that. They would do reissues of different years, and the Japanese would do 52, 53, 54, 55. They're like, oh well, but the 54 has 4 screws instead of 5 screws, so they would do, it was like meticulous. So yeah, they made that Telly is great. In fact, of all my guitars, and I have a lot of them, that's my son's favorite. That's the one he can't wait to get when I die. Let's see. I may give it to him before then, so I can see the joy on his face. I guarantee it. Oh, well, I hope so. I hope to give it to him before I die. Let's see. Time out. Oh, good. Okay. Let's see. My own. Yeah, Japan. The Yamahas are very reasonably priced and fairly decent. I generally on guitars in general. In fact, like I said, I'm in the market now for an oud. I've got a friend who's a great oud player in LA, and I told him that I was in the market, and he's going to try to help me find maybe someone he knows that's getting rid of one. But one of the things I don't really need in an instrument is ornate stuff. So I'm not going to pay extra for inlays and fancy stuff. It's like, give me a good solid, if it's the exact same guitar as this one, but it's $1,000 cheaper, I'm fine with that, because I'm not putting on a show. I'm in here by myself strumming guitars. It doesn't need to look pretty. It just needs to sound good. So I think if you start looking at there may be some clues in the model numbers for the Yamaha acoustics. But if you look at some of the like appointments, and it says it's made of this wood, solid. Solid spruce top is one of the things you really want on an acoustic guitar. You want to make sure the top is solid spruce. If the sides and the back are laminated, that's not as good as solid back and sides, but it'll save a lot of money. But if there's solid back and sides and solid spruce top, and it's the GQ 400, and it's $400, and then the GQ 475 is the exact same woods, but it has inlay and blah blah blah, and it's $700. Then save yourself $300 and get the one without the fancy inlays, because you're just paying for that workmanship. Again, time is probably labor is probably their number one cost, and so all that stuff takes time. Although at the Taylor factory, they have lasers that do all the cutting of that. I'm sure Yamaha, they do the same thing. So all that stuff is cut by lasers now, but still they have to put them in by hand and all that. So anything that has more appointments on it, ornate stuff, I don't like it anyway. I kind of like a plain looking guitar. Now I will say, like, sometimes you can't help it. Like this guitar, look at the beautiful wood on the back of this, the curly maple. So this is spruce top, maple sides and back, but this is a Taylor 855, big jumbo body. The classic, actually, this is kind of the classic 12 string, because remember the 12 string that everybody played in the 70s was pretty much the Guild, because the Martin 12 strings were really hard to play their action. It just felt like impossible to play. And in fact, I think the first Martin I ever played was a Martin 12 string, and I just had in my head that Martins played awful from then for years, and so I never bought a Martin. I was wrong, but this has that jumbo body that's the shape of that. I forget what's FG something. No, I'm thinking of Yamaha, but the famous Guild that everybody played. In fact, Pat Metheny had a Guild, a 12-string. But this is a Taylor. I got my snark tuner here. Taylor, you can see backwards. It's got gold tuners. I don't really care. It's like that was just, it came with it. I got this from them directly. It came with a pickup in it, which is great. That comes in handy every now and then, but I rarely use the pickup. The battery is probably not even good. I probably should take the battery out so it doesn't leak, or put a new one in. Let's see. Oh, you have a separate box for comments. Yeah, I can set that. I can do that, but that doesn't change anything. See, pop out chat. So if I go say, end up with tons of Harleys when my dad dies. Nice. Oh, here we got more options here. Remove, put user in timeout. No, I'm not going to do that. See, I did when it said put user in timeout. All I saw was put user in time, and then it cut off the out. So I thought it was like in timeline or something. I didn't know it was. So add moderator, put user in, remove. No, I don't know how RJ did it. I mean, if I try to drag this. So I'm going to try, Jack, I'm going to try to drag your Harley comment. See if I drag. Oh, no, cancel. I don't want to leave site. Okay. No, that didn't do it. Dang it. Okay, so restore chat back over here. I kind of like it over here on the side better, although I could make it bigger. Let's see. Harleys. Let's see. You die with that thing. Yes, I should just do that just to spite my son. If I were feuding at the end of my life, I will be buried with that telly. Alex, you're not watching. I know. Let's see. Let's see. Any opinions about the Lava Pro acoustics? I not even heard about them. And that's one of the things where that's the thing. When I talked to Fender, I was at the Fender booth at NAMM, and I've been talking a little bit about NAMM through this whole conversation. But I do have a video called "What is NAMM? Should I go? How do I get in?" And there's two things that I told Fender that I would be interested in doing. One, and then they actually wanted me to do some teaching, some lessons or something like that. They have a really good lesson channel that they have a lot of lessons on. So I don't know. That's one of those things where I actually make money from my YouTube thing, and I don't necessarily want to take away my views from YouTube to go over and give Fender my views, unless they're going to pay me a lot of money or residuals, which I don't know if they would do. I haven't gotten that far in a conversation, but my thought was I wouldn't mind reviewing some of their cheaper guitars, because I feel like that serves my subscribers better, because vast majority of my subscribers are beginners or intermediates, and they can't afford, say, the latest $2,700 Stratocaster, the custom shop or whatever. So I have a lot of Squires. In fact, that Squire I was playing the pop stuff on, this thing, that Bieber track that got too much reverb on here. Let me pull off some reverb. A lot of compression too. So that's a track that's coming out, the Bieber recorded. And I think I recorded on, because I just like this, especially out of phase. It's really thin and cheap sounding, kind of lo-fi, and a good Strat won't sound like that. This sounds like what I thought a Strat sounded like when I was a kid. And so, it's got that great, especially if I use like a scratchy pick. Do I have any scratchy picks? Where are my scratchy picks? Oh, here's one. And if I turn compression on, should have a guitar in my hand the whole time, huh? Because otherwise it's not a guitar channel. Oh, the guitar's behind me. Can't make it count as a guitar channel. And my camera facing this way. We're not filming. I'm not filming me. Don't worry. But yeah, so I really like the cheap Squiers. So I thought, well, if they want to give me some cheap Squiers to do reviews of, I'd totally be down for that. The thing is, what I'm going to like about them are not the things that necessarily someone who wants to use them. I've used this on a gig. I took this to church one weekend. Alex and I both took our $100 Squiers to church one weekend. People were so mad. Like, man, you guys make those sound good. Yeah. And then the other thing that's that I told them that I would be interested in reviewing are any weird instruments, because I do a few reviews, and one of my most watched reviews is the bass 6. So it's bass with Roman numeral 6. It's an instrument that's been around since the 60s. Okay. It's they don't make it anymore. And I happened to grab that Squier one for like $350 because I thought, oh, it's something I don't have. It's for me, it's all about getting something that I don't have, some weird sound. I mean, I know guys that have 10 Les Pauls, and I'm just like, I have one Les Paul. I only need one Les Paul. I have a Les Paul. I have an SG, and Les Pauls and SGs are very different. They sound very different to me. Well, especially mine, because the pickups are different. That's the biggest factor, I think, in an electric guitar. But also the body, the thickness of the body, the type of wood. Les Pauls are mahoganies with a spruce top. I'm sorry, not spruce top, maple top generally. The SGs are just solid mahogany generally, and that one's solid mahogany. So with a bad paint job. That's not the original paint job. That's the other thing. That's the reason why I got that so cheap, was because I think the original, I think all of those were just mahogany, the red, that dark red look. And so somebody painted it black, and that's part of it. And they didn't, it's not a bad paint job. It's pretty good. I can bring it. I can go get it. Let me put my balalaika away. But yeah, you can see it's painted black, and you can see some of the stuff, paint chipping off. Again, I almost like that. I've always said, who are you going to respect more, a soldier with a brand new shiny sword or a soldier with a dinged up bloody sword? So this is my dinged up bloody sword. So somebody else dinged it up and bloodied it, not me. But yeah, that's kind of, what does it sound like? Well, with this setting, we got a lot of compression on it. One thing about compression I like is that it really brings out that. See, I turn on compression if I'm going to use a scrapey pick, because I feel like the most important thing about playing electric guitar for me, the most important part of the sound, is that moment of connection, that moment of contact with either your finger or pick. So I tend to gravitate towards picks. This is a gravity pick. I gravitate towards picks that have a little bit of have a little bit of roughness to them, a little bit of abrasion that you can hear when you pluck. Because I notice that a lot now on old records. On old recordings, I go, oh wow, I can really hear that pick contact. See, this is what I used for years, the Dunlop Tortex, and it doesn't have that sound. It's almost invisible sonically. Let me turn off the compressor. Sorry, I'm messing around with the harmonizer pedal. So yeah, I like that moment, and especially with the fingers. that moment where the fingers meet the strings. That's really the magical moment on a guitar. Let's see what. I don't think Guitar Rig has a guitar amp plugged in here, does it? Oh, it does. Okay. Take off this compressor too. So it's yeah, it's gainy, a little gainy. That's you got to play that on a 330 or one an SG. Boy, it almost looks like I'm not playing. I just have pickups on my shirt. It's almost blending in with the shirt. Look, I have a shirt with pickups in it and a neck coming out the side of me. What's considered a good practice chair that has back support and doesn't break the bank? Ooh. Had to move my bro drum rack, no joke, 2 inches. Damn drummers. Yes. I could do a whole video series on drummers. Hey, I got a joke for you. How do you tell if the stage is level? Drool comes out of both sides of the drummer's mouth. Huh? Tell that to your drummer friend. Practice, it's funny because I'm sitting in this chair. In fact, I feel like I'm starting to wear it out because I tend to go through chairs. Obviously, I can't have arms. I have to have a back on it. But this is just, I don't even know. I'm not even sure. I think I got this chair at Target. I just like the aesthetic of it. And it's pretty squishy. It's kind of comfortable. And it goes up and down so I can raise it and lower it if I need to. But I don't have a specific practice chair. I probably should care more about that kind of stuff, but I really don't. I find being practical. Yeah, just don't have arms on it. Yeah, that's sometimes hard to find a good chair without arms on it because all the really good office desk chairs, they all have arms and they go back and they have the massage thing and they have the whatever. And it's like, but I need one without arms. But you can often those chairs the arms do come off. So you could find one that's really comfortable. The arms come off. Part of the thing, my main thing is I slouch too much. So I just need to remember to kind of straighten my back every now and then. I think there's a thing you can get that you wear like around your back and it sends a little vibration every 10 minutes to remind you to straighten your back. Don't think gaming chairs. Yeah, but for playing guitar, gaming chairs, don't they mostly have arms? Don't they have places you can put your mouse and things like that? Yeah, slouching is bad. And if I had a chair I could lay back, I don't think I would lean back though and even play guitar because I'm slouching not because I'm playing guitar. I'm slouching because I'm, editing, looking at the screen, playing keyboard here. I got a keyboard down here. You can't see. What can you see? Yeah, you can't really see anything. So I could do this a little higher. There we go. Yeah. But see, that's the kind of stuff I'm doing. That's amazing, making me slouch. So that's one of the things. Let's see. Yeah, see, Jack, that's exactly what I was thinking. Was that some chairs with arms on them need the arms, and some they are. So if the arms attached to the back at all, then they can't be taken off. But if they're just attached to the base, then yeah, they shouldn't be a problem. If they're just attached to the seat, it shouldn't be a problem. So that's something you could look at. But I'm always nervous about leaning back too far in chairs. I don't know why I have that. Oh, I know why. Actually, because I was abused in school, in high school. Oh my gosh, in junior high, not high school so much. Junior high, I was just, I was little, and I had that pheromone that attracted bullies. So I had a kid that sat behind me. His last name began with a T. He will, other than that, remain nameless. And he was a big athlete, jock, one of those jock types. And he used to. The class we were in was Mrs. Kivett's English class, and this is 8th grade. And she was she was very at the very end of her career, blue haired, totally clueless. I think half the class was high on Quaaludes one day, and she totally did not know. And it wasn't me. I wasn't one of them. But she. So this almost said his name. This Mr. T that sat behind me in English class, when Mrs. Kivitz was writing on the board, he would lean my desk way back, right? and I'd be like, oh. And he'd put his feet on the back legs of my desk, and he'd pull me back, and I'd be like, okay, you got to grab all my books and everything because you're going to let go of me. And just as she was turning around, he would let go of me, and I'd go flying forward because I'd be in the front row. And everybody would laugh, and she'd be like, Tom, stop messing around. And I'm like, and he would do this to me all the time. And then one time it got going too far back, or I don't know, maybe he intentionally went too far back and let me go. And I fell back, and my head slammed on the, of course, hard linoleum concrete floor. And I'm laying there, and the class is dying. And my 3-ring binder, which was open at the moment, closed on my chest like this. And Mrs. Kivitz yelling at me. So this is why I don't like chairs that lean back too far. It's flashbacks. It's like a traumatic stress syndrome of some kind. So I hope you appreciate that. And I am wearing a Culver shirt. I am from Indianapolis originally, Todd. Basically from Indianapolis. I'm just telling a story about junior high life in Indianapolis. I went to North Central High School, Northview Junior High, and Butler University for a year. After a year, my grades were so bad because I was working so much as a musician. Between my band gigs and rehearsals and my students, I just couldn't keep my grades up. And so I just quit school because it was expensive, and my mom was spending a lot of money, and I just didn't want to go. So I just said, I'm just going to concentrate on my career in Indianapolis at 18 and moved to LA. And that's what I did when I turned 21. But yeah, Culver is a beautiful area. We would go up there on weekends. Best man at my wedding was Chip Ball, his family has been up there forever. They still have a cottage up on the lake. They call it a cottage, but it's a big house. Heck, the back house is bigger than our house, I think. But it's a beautiful area. I really, really love it, especially in the summer, obviously. Let's see. The front fell off video. I don't know that, but so yeah, I am going to talk about slide. I'm going to do a slide video. Like I said before, I'm going to do a series of 3 of them. I don't know where all my slides go. They're all around here somewhere. Oh, here's my glass slide. I just ordered 2 more slides to have. So I'm going to get those tomorrow. I'm going to do a video about playing on slide with standard tuning. Because oftentimes you're just grabbing a slide to play a solo on a song. You don't want to be in an open tuning the whole song. So I really feel like knowing a bunch of licks, it's almost easy because you're just basically masking things. I'll tell you one thing I noticed. One of the things they say in slide is don't keep a light touch. I don't know if you can hear that. Let me turn it up a little bit. Where can I turn it up? Oh, maybe if I turn. When you're playing a tune, standard tuning, you just basically all your licks are right there. You just have to be able to get a slide on them and stop. But tremolo helps a lot. I'm not a great slide player. But one of the tricks of playing slide and standard is just to learn all the little straight shapes, anything that can be construed as any kind of chord. So like top 2 strings. you know, and then the G shape, which is the fourth, third, and second string. And I generally tend to play with my fingers when I play slide. I mean, I can hold a pick in my hand while I do it. So it doesn't mean I have to put down the pick. I just kind of put it like that. It's like a magic trick. But I noticed it was something that Derek Trucks does that is kind of was always a no-no. So he'll do he's usually in open E, I think. I'm not sure. So you're doing like a blues thing in D or whatever. I feel like there's many times where he's actually fretting with the slide. He's pushing down the string onto the fret. Creates kind of a cool sound, actually. And it's more precise pitch-wise. So here's sliding. And here's fretting. You hear that? I don't know if you can hear the subtle difference. But it definitely, there are times where I feel like when he's going up high, he's getting that chromatic. He's getting those middle notes in. It sounds really, really cool. So it's like it's like breaking the rule, but there's a reason behind. It works. And I was on weird pickup. I did talk about it in a video about doing. I did a video on double drop D, which is I like it because it's really good for for slide. Because you got 4 strings. The top 4 strings are like 5, root, 3rd, and 5th. But then you got the power chord on the bottom. So you got that G there, and then they got G here. So it's like the best of 2 worlds. It's like combining open D with open G. So double drop D is really cool. I did a video on that. You can check it out. Sonny Landreth, one of my favorite slide players, he'll play fret behind the. If you just fret behind it, like I'm playing the 4th, 5th, or 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string. If your action's high enough, you don't have to lift up the slide. I tend to lift up the slide a little bit. It just sounds so cool. He's really good at it, man. Sonny Landreth is one of my favorites. Anyway, I'm going to do a video on beginner slide. So you keep your eyes open for that. Blind Willie. Oh, yeah. Blind Willie's amazing. That song just left the solar system on the Voyager spacecraft. Oh, cool. Gold record they put in. My son works at NASA. Not my guitar playing, not the one that wants that telly. Now, my other son, he probably wants the 5-string. No, he doesn't want the 5-string. But yeah, I have a son that's a guitar player, and I have a son that's an engineer at JPL. So he's actually working on Mars stuff. He literally is working on Mars things. They got a whole plan for Mars, and he's all part of that. So that's pretty cool. He's just finishing up his master's at USC. So let's see what else. What else did I see at the NAMM show besides a lot of friends? I did check out Atmos. I don't know if anybody's heard of Atmos, but Atmos is the new Dolby thing. So you're all familiar with surround sound, 5.1, 7.1, 9.1, 11.1, 12, 13.1, 15.1, whatever. Atmos, what they do is they don't only put speakers around you, and in front of you, but they put them above you too. So they're starting to remix a lot of records with that. And they have systems that will do that. There is something coming out that will make it'll work better, I think, than having speakers on your ceiling. People aren't, people do the 5.1 setup in their homes. I mean, the great thing about that now is all wireless. You can pretty much have powered. You just need to get power to the monitors, but they can be wireless. So you don't need to run wires all over your walls to necessarily have 5.1. So I'm not sure exactly what their vision for Atmos is, but as far as the consumer's concerned, I'm sure they'll have theaters soon with Atmos if they don't already. But that was kind of cool. So because of the composer I work on Apex Legends with, Steve Barton, he does some consulting work with them, I think, with Atmos, with Dolby. And at Capitol Records in Hollywood, the Circle building in Hollywood that's famous, they have Studio C and Studio E, I think he said, have Atmos system in them. And so he's actually going to bring me in there so I can do some guitars for Apex Legend and hear how it's going to sound all around me. So the speakers are above you and on all sides of you and in front, and the subs and everything. So it's going to be pretty cool. It'll be an experience I've never had playing guitar that way with all that sound. It'll be inspiring. So, and that's, when I work on Apex Legends, probably 80% of the time, I'm just a mad scientist trying to come up with sounds and things I haven't heard before. So I'm doing a lot of programming verbs and, reverbs and delays and just anything I can do to create an odd sound. And so that'll be fun to hear that in kind of this surround sound context. So, okay. Cold was the night. Oh, double drop. I'm like, that doesn't sound right. It's kind of cool. Oh, one thing I like about, so where's my pick? What did I do with that pick? How did I lose a pick? Oh, here, I put my coffee cup on it. Totally hid my pick. So I'm right now. Got the D string or the E string down to D. So that lick. So this lick. Kind of the classic 70s rock lick. If you do it with the D or the E string down to D, it ends up being kind of redundant. Because both those notes, which is kind of cool on its own. But then if you move your pinky down a fret, you get that F sharp instead of the G. So one time I did that. Let me do it up here. It's a little. I thought, oh, that's a cool sound. How do I get it in standard? so that's really hard. So sometimes I'll do that when I'm in standard. I'll be. So sometimes when you're in a weird tuning and you play a lick and you're like, oh, that's really cool lick. Well, I would never do that in standard. Well, how do you do it in standard? So it was reverse engineering. I had to reverse engineer that riff and figure out how I did it or how I could do it in standard tuning. So, all right. Any other questions? Like I said, I think I'm going to do a series on beginner slide. I'm not a great slide player, but like there's some great slide guys out there doing lessons. So I want to try to kind of find that thing that's not being said or just, so I think I've got 8 or 9 tips for slide beginners. And so that one will probably come out this week. I just did a video a minute ago before I came online about this capo that was given to me at the NAMM show by G7 Capo. I did get some swag, but not a lot. I don't ask for anything. They just give me stuff, which is really cool. I used to hate guys like me, but I didn't get like nobody handed me a guitar or anything like that. I did see some stuff. Let's see. One thing I'm going to probably pick up this at the beginning of this year is from, I always buy something from Gold Tone. I bought a, that Mando guitar. You haven't seen it yet, but I've got a Irish Bouzouki that I bought. And I'll probably do a video on that at some point. In fact, I need to do a video. I haven't done a gear review video in a while. It's less a gear review and more of a introduction to a new instrument. That's kind of what I think about it. How to come up with a chord progression like Paul Simon. Oh, Paul Simon. Now, come on. I was just having this conversation with someone yesterday. Are you listening to my conversations? You're freaking me out. Okay. I'm going to tell you a secret. I don't have that. The guitar is in one of my other rooms. I have rooms of guitars. You hate me now, don't you? So I'll tell you a secret. It basically on that pulse. If you're talking about Graceland, I just did this I did this a while ago, but I just was telling someone about this yesterday. But the tuning that you want to use is African tuning. Okay. African tuning. And I read about this in Guitar Player magazine years ago. I don't know if it was King Sunny A Day or the guitar player for King Sunny A Day did this tuning. And basically all it is standard tuning. So you don't have to relearn anything. Okay. But it's standard tuning with you take the D string off and you put an E string, a skinny string on it and tune it to D. Okay. So you put a 10 on. You could probably get away with an 11, but 10 would be safe. Tune it up to D. And then play chords on the top 4 strings. And I'm telling you, it's a ukulele. Basically, if you were to capo at the 5th fret, top 4 strings, that would be the same tuning as a ukulele. So I have a ukulele. Again, in the other room. I'm not going to get up and leave you guys. If I knew I was going to talk about ukuleles, I would have had one sitting right here. But basically, what it does is it allows you to create a piano tuning, a tight tuning that's easy on piano, just like clip. It's like this. But on guitar, it would be like impossible. Okay. So for example, so like this voicing, that would be this. So this D string would be up an octave. Okay. So when you pick through that chord, you get these tight voicings that when I tune my guitar to African tuning and start messing around with it, oh no, that's how they did. I could not figure out the Graceland chords. I was sitting there going, how are they doing that? I'm like, is that 2 guitar players? How is that even possible? And it's just the D strings tuned up an octave. So I did that. I bought a cheap telly. It's funny because it had like a mirror pickguard on it. So I bought a regular pickguard, put a regular pickguard on it. I bought this really crappy, it's really crappy telly, Squire telly. It's like the neck is a baseball bat. The body has got to be some kind of like, it's made of concrete. It just weighs a ton. And I strung it up that way, put new strings on it, put a skinny string on a D, and I literally get a call to do a session for a South African artist the next week. That was just weird. I've never worked for this artist. The producer I work for all the time, but I never worked for this artist. So I grab a bunch of guitars and I go, oh, I should take the African telly. And I take the African telly, and I've done some messing around with it for the last week, but not a lot. And we get to do this one song, and he's like, oh, what should we do? I'm like thinking, well, maybe I'll get so I grab the guitar up. I start playing this thing that, I'm like doing like alternating, but it sounds like, this, it has this piano sound to it. And he looks at me and goes, "How did you know to do that?" He's like, he was from, he lived in Africa his whole life, knew, African guitar players. And he goes, "How did you know to do that?" And I said, "I just read an article like 2 weeks ago and it sounded cool. So I bought this guitar." He was like blown away. I think probably the only time I ever used it. I've actually used it. No, it's not true. I've used it on a couple different things, a couple TV things. And I like it just because it has, for pop stuff, I use it because if you do, again, you got this voice, so what does it be? I can't, it sounds like, which is really cool, So it's a voicing that I can't normally play on guitar. You wouldn't be able to play on guitar. I play in this pop context. I did also something like power chord stuff. It was cool because the D string, I made the D string be the middle note. And so the middle note's up an octave. And that sounds really cool. So you can experiment. So weird stringing, I'm always doing that kind of thing. That's why I buy so many cheap Squires, so that I can have a tool that's gonna maybe get me outside of my boxes that I tend to think in. It's even good for soloing because if you do like a lick, you're like, "Oh, cool," and then it'll be like, you just do this, and it sounds like this, and that's like, oh, that's brilliant. So now you got to figure out how to do it in standard so that you can actually use it. So if you just do this, it sounds like this. So you end up creating exercises for yourself just based on trying to replicate odd tunings. So that's the African tuning. So that might answer your question of how to get chord progressions like Paul Simon. Specifically chord progressions, I'm not sure if he does anything like, he never uses the 4 chord or something like that. I'm not sure. Or if he only uses jazz chords. I've not analyzed him that much. All I know is that I could never get that Graceland sound. And it wasn't him playing guitar anyway. It was, I don't know who he was using. I forget the guys' names, but they were all African musicians on that record. It was really good. That's such a great record. Classic 80s offering. So somebody asked me to do a video on classic 80s riffs. So that, I might have to pull something out of that one. I'd have to pull the African guitar out, but that would be pretty cool to have that one out. And I could do one video with 10 riffs, or I could do 10 videos concentrating on each riff and talking about them in the history or whatever. I don't know. Probably you'd rather have one video with 10 riffs on it. So let's see what else is going on. Okay, so I'm almost done with my coffee. When I get done with my coffee, I'm going to sign out. It's been almost 2 hours, which is ridiculous. Ridiculous. You can literally talk nonstop for 2 hours. I need your help, though. You got to give me some stuff to talk about. Did I see any anomalies? So I love anomalies, which are the weird things at NAMM. Like the guitar with 10 necks. Yeah. 3 hours. I know that was brutal. I didn't even know I was doing. That's just me. I could talk. But the first day I was with my wife, I took my wife Beth to the NAMM show, and she hadn't been in like 20 years, and I Instagrammed pictures of her holding goofy guitars. So my goal for the first 2 hours of NAMM was just to find the weirdest looking guitars and make her hold them and then take a picture of them. That was my plan, and that was a success. Well, pop music. Okay, so I don't know if you can see Abhishek. Abhishek. I'm never sure how to say your name, but what you say on pop music using more synths and less instruments in production? Yeah, it's kind of a give and take thing. I mean, the synths and everything, they're in the box. You got oftentimes in pop sessions, you'll have a couple kids on laptops programming stuff, and they're all, everybody's working in the room on the same thing, and they're, do stuff. I've had like my guitar part, like I've written a guitar hook that they wrote the song around, and then had them replace my guitar with synths. But I'm still the writer on the song, so even if they replace my guitar, it doesn't mean I'm not the writer. So if there's no guitar on it, but I created the progression or the idea that started the whole thing, then I still get writers. Pop, yeah, it's very natural for pop to be kind of created on synthesizers. I think because pop is such a producer's art form. So producers, they're oftentimes sitting behind a computer now, and so it's very natural just to play keyboards on something. Especially EDM. Obviously, there's no guitar on EDM. I mean, I've played on maybe a couple EDM records, but for the most part, it's synths or samples. But the pop stuff that I work on, it has guitars on it, has instruments on it because it starts with me. So I'm hoping to do a writing session for Camilla this week. I'm working with one of her people this week. And so that, I may get a chance to write for her as well. So I'm anxious for the Bieber record to come out because I got a tune on that, supposedly. And hopefully it will be, I'll get some phone calls over that. But, and then anything that I'm going to be part of is going to have real instruments on it, at least. Yeah, but there's not, even the drum stuff is like, they'll take my guitars and put fake, like drum machine stuff on it and synth bass and stuff. So my guitar may be the only instrument on it. If it's acoustic, and then it sounds even more human. Sometimes the electric guitar stuff, I've heard electric guitars that were samples. I've heard acoustic guitars that were samples on pop records too. So, and a lot of times they'll take your guitars and turn them into samples, and then they'll mess around with them. So it'll come and go. All it takes is one giant big record to be on acoustic guitar, and then all of a sudden the next 10 big records everybody releases will have acoustic guitar on it. Same things with real drums or real piano or upright bass or whatever. Before you know it, everybody's copying, trying to replicate that success there, in some way. So it kind of comes and goes. Pop music's just funny that way. But like I always say, in fact, I talked to Rick Beato about this a little bit too, but I really appreciate his appreciation for pop because I feel like he really appreciates classic records, and everybody's like, well, you can't like pop music, but he does because he was a producer for 20 years. And he knows that pop music is really the producer's art form. See, if you're going to make a rock record, it's going to be a couple guitars, bass, and drums. If you make a blues record, it's going to be a couple guitars, bass, and drums. If you make a country record, it's going to be acoustic guitar, bass, drums, maybe mandolin, violin, things like that. If you are going to make a bebop, a jazz record, you're going to have sax and trumpet, piano, bass, and drums, maybe guitar. But if you're going to make a pop record, you don't have any idea what that's a clean slate every single time. It's whoever comes up with the best starting idea, that's what they build on. And so that's kind of what I try to do with the pop people that I work with, is I try to give them a really cool, fun building block that they can write to. And so then they build on that, and hopefully, I have a smash, but I've not had a smash yet. And I won't this time. I don't think the song that I've got on the Bieber record is slated to be a single, but you never know. So, all right. My coffee is almost gone. Hold on. I think I got one more sip. Yeah, no, you're right. Ed Sheeran definitely changed. Yeah, that was a little disappointing for me because I did really like the fact that his records had been previously to that were very acoustic guitar based. What is it? What's this? What song is that? That's the Bieber Ed Sheeran track. Ed wrote it and Bieber recorded it. Love Yourself. Yeah. So my friend Josh produced that, and he actually sent me Ed Sheeran's guitar on that to replace. There were no vocals or anything. All I heard was the guitar before it was released. and I guess he sent it out to 3 or 4 other guitar players because it had this horrible buzz. Like Ed was just plugged his guitar into a DI and the lights or something to the computer, or the pickups were single coil, and it was just like, let's get this idea down moment. We've all done that where we're just like, oh, we got to get this idea down. Let's record it real quick. So he sent it to me, and I replayed it, and I really tried to, like, I had to kind of transcribe it. I had to figure out what he did. I tried to create the energy. I tried to recreate the tone. It felt like I used my 335, I think, and I went direct. So I came pretty close. In fact, Josh told me I came really close. But nobody ever got the vibe of Ed's vibe. And that's really, really, really hard to do. I mean, I don't care if it's a beginner or a pro. It's hard to imitate someone exactly. And if there's a certain vibe that when a guitar part is played in that moment, that is very difficult, to replicate, even for the person that played it. I've done that before, where it's called demo love. People fall in love with a demo, and then they say, okay, we want to redo this. They'll make it record. We want to make it really good. So play it just like you did on a demo. And I'm like, okay, how did I play it again? And then I figure it out. I'm like, okay, and here's the vibe. And then they're like, no, you played it with more, like you were rushing it, or you were behind or whatever. And it's like, it's really, really tough. So I was unable to, so it's not my guitar you're hearing on Love Yourself, but I did replay that guitar before it got released. And I was hoping that was going to get on there, but then that was not the case. So, that was a great track of just guitar, voice, and trumpet. There's an example of real instrument on a pop song, and that song was #1 for several weeks, and it was on purpose, I think. Yeah. So I'm not sure what the new record's going to be called. But we'll see. We'll see. I think we're going to find out soon. There is a YouTube documentary of 10 episodes coming out. Yummy is the new song. Yeah. The album's called Yummy? I don't know. Is it? You may know. Some people, I have subscribers that know more about Bieber than I do. There's a 10-episode YouTube documentary coming out. Oh, you don't know? Okay, yeah. And it's they actually sent me paperwork to clear 2 songs for it. So that's cool. So I know at one point I had 2 songs on the record and one got dropped. And that's the one that got leaked, the one that Justin's singing. They've got the wrong name on it. It's not, I think it's called Don't Go Far or something. But I think it is. Well, I think I used this guitar on it, actually. Sounds familiar. This guitar plays great. I had this out a lot. So that was the hook that I came up with for that song. So they built the whole song around that. Stara, who's a great songwriter, man, she is great at the top line stuff. She wrote the top line on that. It's such a great track. The lyrics are dope. So yeah, the doc comes out tomorrow. So I actually am going to have to subscribe. I mean, I'm going to have to go to become a YouTube Red user to watch it. But like I said, they had to clear a couple songs with me for it. So that means to me that both those songs are going to be in the documentary, and I'll make a little bit of money from the sync fee up front, or the license fee up front, and then on the back end for depending on how many people watch it, which I feel like it's going to be a lot of people, but it'll just be a few dollars. It won't be a lot of money. I mean, it depends, unless it's him in the studio like working on the vocals and they play that song like 100 times in an hour or something, then it could be like I'm the score for that episode. So I don't know. I don't know if the episodes are an hour or a half hour or what. But I'm looking forward to seeing it. It's kind of, I think, a lot about his journey and his deal with depression and stuff. So it's gonna be cool. So if you ever saw Never Say Never, that was a pretty darn good music documentary. One of my favorite scenes in that is when his dad is watching him on stage he's like 15 or 16 years old, and he's like got 10 shows in a row at Madison Square Garden. and his dad's watching him and going, how did my kid learn to do this? The place is packed. It's an amazing moment. And it is true about in general, that's a macro on a micro, but it's always amazing to me when your kids learn stuff that you don't know, because their first 10 years of their life, generally all they know is what you know and what you've told them to know. And then they start learning stuff on their own. And that's when it gets scary. And now I got a kid who's an engineer at NASA. So let's see. What else is okay? Well, I'm going to take my last drink. Cheers. And I'm going to sign off because I want to edit a video. I'm going to post a video probably tomorrow. And then I am also going to do a 3-part series on slide guitar for beginners. Okay. So it's going to be intro, 10 tips for beginner slide beginners. Some Home to Mama. Sure, I can play some Home to Mama as I'm talking. Turn off this, too much compression. Still too much compression. And that I recorded direct. That was my 335. Let's see. Let's turn off this compressor too. Let's see if I can get. There's the hook right there. I would love to do a series. I don't know if I could do it without getting in trouble, copyright trouble. I'm always fascinated with pop music. Here's a challenge for you, to find the hook in a pop song. And I'll tell you, it's not always what you think it is. And for me, the hook on Home to Mama for me is that I'm ending on the 9th on top. I'm not ending on the root. See, that would be normal. That's weird. So that's the thing that makes it. And then I had the 5th on top. Still going down to the 2nd instead of the 3rd. So I'm not doing that. I'm doing that. And then I add and I start ghosting. Do that kind of stuff. And then I wiggle it a little bit. So every time I play it like 7 times in a row. And I thought they would just grab one of them and then loop it, because that was what we were doing back then. Was just like, okay, if you can create a 2-bar phrase, they ended up using the whole 7 bars, and then they just looped that. So that was what I did. So yeah, this is D, B minor, A, and G. So all right, last sip. Very sad moment when I'm out of coffee. And I will see you soon. Again, hopefully posting a video tomorrow on the 12-string capo, which was pretty cool. I have to admit. And so G7 gave this to me at the NAMM show, a series on slide. I've been asked to do that by several people, so I'm going to do that. And then who knows? And when the Bieber record comes out, I'll do maybe a tutorial on the song I did for that. I've got lots of plans for videos. I also still thinking about doing that. That's not a guitar, series. That's not a guitar. That's a balalaika. That's not a guitar. That's a ukulele. And so I may do that series too, because I like all the weird instruments for my work. It gives me lots of options when I'm doing for soundtracks and things like that. So hopefully there was some meat in this besides me telling stories about being abused as a junior high kid. So God bless you guys. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing. It means the world to me. And we'll do this again. I do about one a month. I don't do every week because I wish I could. And this week, the reason I haven't done a video in 2 weeks is just because I've been so stinking busy. So it's kind of opened up a little bit. Next week should be a little bit freer, so I should be able to do some work. Okay. Talk to you soon. Bye.